Have you ever felt like you're living a life that you don't truly control? You wake up every morning with very clear intentions. You know what you should do, you know what is right. You've even told yourself, starting today, I will change. But then the day passes. You procrastinate again. You choose the easier option again. You repeat the very things that disappointed you yesterday. And the strange thing is, you begin to believe the problem is that you lack discipline. I used to think that too. I used to believe discipline was something big, strong decisions, sudden change, a better version of myself appearing one day. But over time, I realized something much simpler. Your life is not determined by big moments. It is controlled by small behaviors repeated every day. It's not one big decision that changes your life. It's the small choices you make when no one is watching, like a boat drifting at sea. It doesn't change direction because of one big wave. It changes direction because of small, silent, continuous currents. And that's where the truth starts to become hard to accept. You don't lack discipline. You already have discipline. It's just that you are disciplining yourself into habits that are destroying your life. You are disciplining yourself to procrastinate. You are disciplining yourself to choose easy. You are disciplining yourself to quit very consistently. And the most dangerous thing is you do all of that without even realizing it. In this video, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I want you to see what you are doing every day. Because when you truly see it, you will understand why your life is going in its current direction. And more importantly, you will know how to take back control. And you should stay until the end of this video, because the final idea may change the way you see your entire life. Habit 1: procrastination. I want to start with something very familiar but rarely faced directly. Imagine a farmer. Every day, he goes to the field. He knows he has to sow seeds today or the season will be late. But then he looks at the sky. Maybe tomorrow is fine. The next day, he thinks again. Today isn't the best day yet. And like that, there is no single decision that is truly wrong. But the harvest never comes. Procrastination is not a big decision. It doesn't arrive like a collapse. It comes very softly, very reasonably, very acceptably. I'll do it later. I need more time. Today isn't the right time. I lived like that for a long time. I didn't think I was lazy. I still read books. I still thought. I still made plans. But there was one thing I didn't do, I didn't start. And that's when I realized a truth many people don't want to hear. Procrastination is not a lack of action. It is a form of repeated action. Every time you choose later, you are training a habit, a very dangerous habit. You are teaching yourself that important things can wait. And when you repeat that long enough, it is no longer a choice. It becomes the way you live, like a small debt. Every day you don't pay it, it doesn't hurt immediately. No one knocks on your door. There are no obvious consequences. But the interest keeps growing silently. One day, you look back and ask, why is my life going nowhere? And the answer is not in one big decision you didn't make. It's in hundreds of small decisions you postponed. I've met very intelligent people. They know exactly what they need to do. They have ideas. They have ability. But they always wait. Wait for the perfect time. Wait to feel confident enough. Wait for everything to be ready. And they don't realize the perfect time is not something you wait for. It is something you create through action. Procrastination does something very dangerous to you. It doesn't just slow you down. It makes you start doubting yourself. Because every time you say, I will do it, but don't, you send a very clear signal inside. I cannot trust myself. And when that trust begins to crack, discipline is no longer the problem. The problem is you no longer believe you will do what you say. That's why many people don't lack motivation, they lack belief in themselves. And it all starts from a very small habit, procrastination. I'm not saying you have to do everything immediately. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. But I want you to realize this. Every time you procrastinate, you are not just delaying a task. You are reshaping who you will become. And if you don't change that, you won't need a big failure to lose direction. You will just need enough time. Because life doesn't collapse in one day. It slides downhill little by little. And that is how this first habit quietly controls you. But if you think procrastination is the only thing holding you back, you haven't seen the more dangerous part. Because there is another habit that not only makes you procrastinate, but also makes you feel comfortable doing it. Habit 2, addiction to quick rewards. I want you to imagine something very simple. A person walking on two paths. One path is short, smooth, easy, and the reward is right in front. The other path is long, rough, uncertain, and the reward is far away. Most people will choose the first path, not because they are stupid, but because they are programmed to do so. And that is exactly what is happening every day in your life. You pick up your phone just to check for a moment. You open a video just to relax for a few minutes. You scroll through images, lines of text, small bursts of stimulation, and you don't realize you are being rewarded. Not with money, not with success, but with feeling, a pleasant feeling, a fast feeling, a feeling that requires no effort. I used to think these things were harmless. I thought, what's wrong with a little entertainment? What's dangerous about a little relaxation? But then I realized the problem is not the action, it's the frequency. Because every time you choose a quick reward, you are retraining your brain. You are teaching it that what is easy is what is worth doing. And when that happens long enough, everything difficult starts to feel unbearable. You sit down to work, but after a few minutes you feel tired. Not because the work is too hard, but because it's not stimulating enough. You open a book, but your mind starts to drift. Not because you don't understand, but because you've become used to being fed with faster rewards, like someone used to eating sugar. At first, a little sweetness is enough, but later you need more, and then normal food is no longer appealing. That's how this habit works. It doesn't destroy you immediately. It only does one thing. It takes away your ability to be patient. And when you lose patience, you lose the ability to build anything valuable, because everything valuable in life takes time. A career, a skill, a life you are proud of. None of those come instantly. But if you constantly feed yourself with quick rewards, you will start to feel long-term things are not worth it. And that's when your life starts to go off track. I've met very talented people, but they can't sit still long enough to build anything. Not because they lack ability, but because they are used to being rewarded without effort. And the most dangerous part is, this habit makes you feel okay. You don't feel like you are failing, you just feel fine. You have entertainment, you have small joys, you have comfort, but you don't have progress. And life does not reward comfort, it rewards the value you create. If you don't realize this, you will continue living in a very subtle loop. You procrastinate, and you have something that makes procrastination feel good. That's why these two habits always go together. One makes you not act. One makes you not feel the need to act. And when those two combine, you don't just stay still. You start falling behind without even realizing it. But if you think the problem stops here, you still haven't seen the full picture. Because even when you start, there is another habit waiting for you. A habit that makes you never reach the end. Habit 3, starting many things, finishing none. I want you to picture someone very hardworking. He always starts a new book, a new plan, a new goal. Every time he starts, he is full of energy. He tells himself, this time will be different. And in the first few days, things are actually very good. But then things slow down. The excitement disappears. The work becomes repetitive. Small difficulties begin to appear. And then he stops. Not because he cannot continue, but because he no longer feels the way he did at the beginning. I used to be that person. I used to start many things in life. And in my mind, I always had a very reasonable excuse. Maybe this isn't right for me. Maybe I should try something else. Maybe there is a better path. Sounds smart, right? But then I realized something. I didn't lack options. I lacked the ability to go all the way. And that is a form of discipline very few people talk about. Discipline to start, many people have. But discipline to continue when things become boring, that is rare. Most people don't fail because they don't start. They fail because they don't finish. Like someone digging a well. He digs in one spot for a while, finds no water. He moves to another spot, then another. After some time, he has 5 holes, but no water. Meanwhile, another person digs in one place only. Not faster, not smarter, just more persistent. And eventually he reaches water. That's the difference. Not between the talented and the untalented, but between those who continue and those who stop. The habit of starting but not finishing is very dangerous because it creates an illusion. You feel like you are moving forward. You are always busy. You always have something new to chase. But in reality, you are standing still. You don't go deep enough into anything to create real value. I used to ask myself, why do I always feel like I'm close to achieving something but never reach it? And the answer was very simple. I always left right before it happened. Because everything valuable has a very uncomfortable phase. A phase where you are no longer excited, no longer motivated, no longer feeling anything new, only the work remains. And at that point, most people leave, not because they can't, but because they are not used to that feeling. They are used to starting, not used to staying. And every time you leave like that, you are teaching yourself something very dangerous. As soon as things get hard, I can quit. Repeat that long enough, it becomes a reflex. You no longer realize you are quitting. You just think you are choosing a better direction. But in reality, you are running away from the most important phase of growth, because results are not at the beginning. They are in the days you don't want to continue, but you still do. If you don't break this habit, you may start 100 times in life, but you will rarely finish anything truly meaningful. And then you will look back and feel like you've been very busy, but gone nowhere. But if you think the problem is only that you quit, there is still a deeper layer, because there is another habit even more dangerous. It doesn't make you quit. It makes you never truly start seriously. Habit 4, dependence on inspiration. I want to ask you a very simple question. Do you work when you need to, or when you feel like it? Most people will not answer this question honestly, because they don't think they are dependent on inspiration. They just think they are waiting for the right state. I'll start when I'm ready. I'll do it when I'm motivated. I'll focus when I'm in a better mood. It sounds very reasonable. I used to tell myself those same things. I believed that if I felt right, I would do better. I believed inspiration was necessary to start. But then I realized something very hard to accept. If you only act when you feel like it, you will spend most of your life waiting, because inspiration is unstable. It comes then goes. It is strong then weak. It depends on things you cannot control, like the weather. Some days are clear. Some days it rains. Some days you feel full of energy. Some days you don't want to do anything. If you let your life run on inspiration, you are living like a boat without a rudder. Where you go depends on the wind, and the wind is never stable. I have seen people start very strongly when they feel inspired. They work for hours. They focus intensely. They talk about their goals with absolute belief. But then inspiration leaves, and with it, they stop too. Not because they no longer believe in the goal, but because they no longer feel right. That's when I understood something. Inspiration is not the engine. It is just a signal. And if you mistake the signal for the engine, you will never go far. People who truly create something in life, they don't wait for inspiration. They act even without it. They understand that you don't work because you feel good. You feel good because you work. That is a very important reversal. If you wait for inspiration to start, you will never build consistency. And without consistency, no discipline can exist. I used to ask myself, why can I be very strong for a few days but then lose everything? The answer is not in motivation. It is in the system. I didn't have a strong enough system to act even when I didn't want to. And that is the essence of discipline. Discipline is not doing things when you feel good. Discipline is doing things even when you don't want to. If you cannot build that, you will always be in a loop. Inspiration comes, you act. Inspiration leaves, you stop. And your life never has enough continuous time to create real results. The dangerous part is, this habit makes you feel like you are trying. You don't think you lack discipline. You just think you haven't found the right time. But the truth is, the right time never comes. It is created by people who act before they feel ready. If you don't break this habit, you will always start strong and end in silence. But even if you understand that, there is still another force holding you back. A force that makes you know what is right, but still choose what is easier. Not because you are weak, but because you are used to it. And that is the next habit we need to face. Habit 5, avoiding difficulty. I want you to recall a very familiar moment. You know you need to do something. An important call, a difficult decision, a task you've delayed for too long. You know if you do it, your life will move forward. But then you don't do it. Not because you can't. Not because you don't have time. But because it's hard. And at that moment you find something else. Something easier. Something lighter. Something that makes you feel like you are still doing something. I used to live in that state. I was busy all day. But when I look back, I realized I had avoided everything that truly mattered. And the dangerous part is, I didn't even realize I was avoiding. I thought I was working. But in reality, I was hiding. Like someone standing in front of two paths. One path is easy, no obstacles, no pressure. One path is hard, full of challenges, but leads where you want to go. Most people don't choose the easy path because they are stupid. They choose it because they are used to it. Used to avoiding discomfort. Used to not facing things. Used to delaying what forces them to grow. And when that becomes a habit, it starts shaping your life. You don't fail because you don't have opportunities. You fail because you keep avoiding the things that create opportunities. You are not less capable than others. You just choose a different path, a safe path, but one that goes nowhere. I used to think I needed more confidence to do hard things. But then I realized confidence does not come before action. It comes after. You don't wait for confidence to face things. You face them, then you gain confidence. But if you always avoid, you will never have the chance to build that. Every time you avoid something hard, you are not just avoiding the task. You are avoiding the chance to become a stronger version of yourself. And that accumulates, like water flowing, not because of one big stream, but because of thousands of small ones. Your life is the same. Not one big decision keeps you stuck, but hundreds of times you choose what is easier. I've met very intelligent people. They understand everything. They know exactly what they need to do, but they don't do it. Not because they don't want to, but because they are not used to difficulty. And that is the difference. Not between those who are capable and those who are not, but between those willing to endure difficulty and those who always avoid it. If you don't change this, you will continue living in a very familiar loop. You know what is right, you don't do it, you feel bad, you choose something easy to feel better. And that loop never stops on its own. You have to be the one to stop it. Not with one big decision, but with one very small choice. Choose to do the hard thing the moment you know it needs to be done. Not tomorrow, not when you are ready, but right then, because if you wait, the habit will win again. But even if you start facing difficult things, there is still another problem. A problem that makes you start, but not stay long enough to see results. Something that keeps you in a state of almost there, but never actually reaching it. Habit 6, lack of long-term commitment. I want you to think about a seed. You plant it in the ground. You water it every day. You take care of it, hoping that one day it will become a big tree. But then after a few days, you start to doubt. Why hasn't it grown yet? Maybe the soil isn't good. Maybe I should try somewhere else. And then you dig it up to check. You move to another place. Plant again. Water again. And then you do the same thing again. The result? You don't lack effort. You don't lack action. But you will never have a tree. I used to live like that. I changed goals. I changed plans. I changed direction. Every time I changed, I had a very reasonable reason. I'm optimizing. I'm finding a better path. I don't want to waste time. But then I realized something. I was not optimizing. I was not staying long enough. And that is one of the most dangerous habits you can have. Lack of long-term commitment does not make you fail immediately. It makes you always restarting. You are always a beginner, always in the early stage, always learning from the beginning again. While others, they are not smarter than you. They don't have more opportunities than you. They just stay longer. They endure long enough through the phase where no results are visible. They continue when nothing is exciting anymore. They keep their commitment even when they no longer feel certain. And that is what creates the difference. Life does not reward those who start fast. It rewards those who stay long enough. I once asked a very successful person, "What makes you different?" He didn't talk about talent. He didn't talk about luck. He just said one simple sentence, "I don't leave." And that sentence changed how I see everything. Because if you look back at your life, you will see it's not that you didn't have opportunities. It's that you didn't stay with one long enough. It's not that you lack ability. It's that you didn't give your ability enough time to grow. Lack of long-term commitment creates a very dangerous illusion. You feel like you are moving forward. You are always trying something new. You are always changing. But in reality, you are going in circles. You don't go deep enough to create real value. You don't stay long enough to see real results. And then you start to think, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not good enough. But the truth is you haven't stayed long enough. Like a gold miner. He digs for a while, finds nothing. He leaves. But if he dug a few more meters, everything could have been different. There are many people like that in life. They leave right before it happens. Not because they are weak, but because they don't understand value takes time to accumulate. If you don't build the habit of long-term commitment, you will always start with hope and end with doubt. You will always feel like you are almost there but never actually arrive. But even if you understand that, there is still a deeper layer, something not outside, not in the work, not in the environment, but inside you, a very small habit that determines your entire level of discipline. Something that if you don't change, nothing else will ever truly stabilize. And that is the final thing we need to face. Habit 7, not keeping promises to yourself. I want you to remember a very small promise, not to someone else, but to yourself. Tonight I will start. Tomorrow I will wake up early. This week I will be more serious. Very simple promises. No one hears them. No one forces you, just you and yourself. And then you don't do it. There are no immediate consequences. No one blames you. No one judges you. Life goes on. And that is exactly what makes this habit the most dangerous. Because every time you don't keep a promise to yourself, you are not just missing an action. You are doing something much deeper. You are breaking internal trust. I used to think discipline was about doing things right. But later I understood. Discipline is about keeping your word, not your words to others, but the words you say to yourself when no one is watching. Because if you cannot trust yourself, no system can help you. You can read more books, you can learn more skills, you can find more methods. But if inside you there is a voice saying, "I won't do it," then everything stops there. Self-trust is not something you have. It is built each time you keep your word, and it is broken each time you don't, like a bank account. Every time you do what you said, you deposit a little trust. Every time you don't, you withdraw. And most people are withdrawing more than they deposit. They don't realize they are becoming weaker, not because they don't try, but because they no longer trust themselves. I used to be in that state. I said many things. I made many plans. I set many goals. But when it came time to act, I didn't. And after a while, I no longer believed what I said. I started doubting myself. Can I really do this? Or am I just someone who talks more than I acts? And that is a very dangerous place to be. Because when you lose trust in yourself, you won't dare to commit. You won't dare to start. You won't dare to go far. Not because you can't, but because you don't believe you will. And that is the root of all the previous habits. Procrastination, addiction to quick rewards, quitting halfway, dependence on inspiration, avoiding difficulty, lack of long-term commitment. All of it comes back to one point. You no longer believe you will do what you say. And when that happens, your life doesn't need a big failure to go off track. It just needs you to continue like this. But the good news is, this is also where you can begin to change. Not with a big decision, not with a perfect plan, but with one very small thing. Keep one promise. A simple promise. A small action, but you do it exactly as you said. And when you repeat that, trust begins to return. Discipline is no longer something you force. It becomes something you trust, and that is when your life starts to change. Not from the outside, but from the inside. And when you look back at everything we've just gone through, you will start to see a clearer picture, not about what you need to do more, but about what is quietly controlling you every day. And that is what we will close together in the final part of this journey. I want you to pause for a moment and look back, not at your goals, not at what you want to achieve, but at how you are living each day. Because after everything we've just gone through, one thing becomes very clear. Your life is not determined by big moments. It is shaped by small habits. The times you procrastinate, the moments you choose quick rewards, the times you start and don't finish, the days you wait for inspiration, the times you avoid difficulty, the times you don't stay long enough, and the promises you don't keep to yourself, all of those things don't happen once. They repeat. And that repetition is quietly controlling the direction of your life. You don't live by willpower, you live by what you repeat every day. And if you don't change that, you don't need a big mistake to go off track. You just need to keep going as you are. But this is also where everything changes. Because if habits can control you, you can control your habits. Not with a breakthrough, not with an emotional decision, but with very small choices, repeated consciously. One time you don't procrastinate. One time you choose the hard thing. One time you continue when you don't want to. One time you keep your word to yourself. Just one time, but real. And then one more time. That is how discipline is built. Not with force, but with consistency. If you see yourself in what I just said, don't see this as criticism. See it as an awakening, because realizing is always the first step to change. If you want to continue this journey with me, press like, subscribe, and share this video with people who need to hear this. And I want to ask you a very simple question. Out of these 7 habits, which one is controlling you the most? Write it down, not for me, but for yourself, because sometimes just being willing to name the truth means you have already started to change. I truly appreciate that you stayed until the end of this video,